How's it going, everyone? Thank you and welcome back to another review by me, your movie guru. Happy Labor Day weekend, everybody. I hope you guys are having a great time. This review that I'm going to do next is a little bit unconventional insofar that it's not really a big release. In fact, it was kind of dumped this weekend. Not like I didn't see any advertisement for this movie. It didn't have, no buzz or, any of the things that you would usually expect, for a movie opening in theaters. This is one of those films that I think that they didn't really expect to do well. And they just kind of, they kind of sat on it and was like, okay, we're going to release it, in without any fanfare and, just try to recoup whatever costs we can. This movie is starring Liam Hemsworth. Those of you who have not, maybe seen his other movies know perhaps his more famous brother Chris Hemsworth, who plays Thor in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. As but both of these brothers have done quite a few other movies, but I digress. Anyway, the movie that we're actually reviewing, it's interesting. And I say interesting because it's got a 21% score on Rotten Tomatoes and a 73% audience score. The audience score only consists of 15 ratings, so, kind of take that what you will. But more so why I say it's interesting is because I'm going to give you the rating right off the bat. I give it a 5 out of 10. But that's not to say that it is a completely terrible, unsalvageable movie. This was panned by critics, and I read some of the reviews beforehand, and then afterward I saw why. The acting makes sense. I think they did a good job with the acting. The pacing is good and everything. The plot kind of gets a little convoluted. So for this type of, give you the basic synopsis is a money launderer, and he has this friend, who's kind of that you've seen in other films, your generic mobster, low-level mobster, who's related to a big-time mobster, and he wants to move out on his own, or he wants to become bigger, he wants to move up in the organization, but, he's not really someone that the higher-ups trust. And so he's trying to make a name for himself, and his friend, is this gifted money launderer, and through some turn of events, he actually ends up getting amnesia, or partial amnesia. So that's the basic synopsis, and like I said, from that, the plot is fairly straightforward for what happens, continuing in the movie. Like I said, I don't do spoilers, but everything makes sense, everything flows along. Even with, there's definitely a kind of a turn of events scene later on in the movie as you get near the end. But it doesn't really bring everything together. At the end of the movie, you're kind of, this is what I don't like about films that, kind of leave a bad taste in your mouth. I talk a lot about, how villains and characters and pacing and, these things make movies. And even when I talk about, horror films that, how do they make you feel after the movie is over? And, that's the mark of a truly good horror film is if, after the movie is over, we're talking, days, weeks, months, and, a scene that happened in the movie, if you encounter anything close to that, in your daily life, and you get that chill, that's how okay, yeah, this movie really affects you. And this film, after the credits roll, and the last scene, you're kind of left wondering, okay, where do they go from there? And it makes you wonder, was there, is this supposed to be a setup for a sequel? The way that the movie ends, it makes you think, well, there can't be a sequel, or they've written it so that there wouldn't be a sequel, but some of the events in the film makes it seem like, well, it's not going to end there. Otherwise, why would they have introduced this, and why would they have said that unless they plan to follow up on that in a later movie? But then, with some of the things that said at the end, makes it think that, okay, well, no, there's not supposed to be another movie. So it just leaves you with those loose threads hanging. And like I say, I don't want to say that the movie leaves you confused at the end, because, you understand things that happen and you understand what went on, but it leaves you with unresolved. It just that kind of, okay, but I still have questions. There's still things that I would have expected to see laid out in the movie and explained and resolved further. And so in that respect, that a movie can be doing everything right, but if it ends in such a way that that's your lasting impression of it, I mark it down heavily for that. And, because I think, personally, I think the casual moviegoer does it as well. Even, kind of digressing a bit, but when they're talking about public speaking, people remember the first thing you say and, the last thing you say, especially if you're talking about long speeches. They might remember, some highlights or some, animated examples of things of that nature. But, how you started off and how you ended is very important. For me, the ending is more important when you're talking about movies, is because, a movie can start off slow, or a movie can have, some grinding in the gears starting up. But, if it gets in the gear and it gets going and things, start ratcheting it up and you're enjoying it and you're having a good time, you can forgive what happened in the beginning, because by the end of the movie, okay, that was, 2 or 3 hours ago. And, all I'm remembering is the fun that we had now going forward. But, if the film is doing okay and then it gets to the ending, and the last thing you remember about it is, oh yeah, it had that weird ending, and or that ending didn't make any sense. So it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And I really feel that's kind of what this film does. It's like I said, it's not to say there aren't salvageable things. I think they did a good job of acting. The characters, while not original, they play their roles well. You do get enveloped in the movie in that sense, in that, okay, the scene pulls you in, and you do feel like, okay, this is a realistic, or this is a reasonable setting for these events to be happening. So like I said, so that's nice. The acting's nice. I think the film was a bit too brutal in its violence for the type of film that it was. I mean, I get that, you get some films that are trying to be gritty, and, they're trying to have a certain type of ambiance, if you will. But, it has to flow naturally. It has to say, okay, this is the type of movie that this is. A good example with this would be, not as far as violence, but if you look at the first two Batman films with Michael Keaton and directed by Tim Burton, the things that happen in those films make sense in the world that Tim Burton has created. He's like, this is my view of Batman, and this is my view of what Gotham is and what type of place it is. And in that realm, the things that he has happen fits. In this film, like I said, the how violent they were, I didn't think it really fit with the rest of the film, as if they were, trying to be graphic just for graphicness sake. Not that, they actually needed to be, or that the film could have had the same things, without it. After doing a little bit of research online, I understand that the director was trying to, evoke some 70s nostalgia, for some of the films that happened in the 70s. I didn't grow up in the 70s. I haven't seen a lot of 70s films. So, maybe if you grew up during that time and you've seen movies during that time, this film might resonate a little bit more with you. But for your average moviegoer today, I'm going to say that that's probably that part trying to evoke the 70s imagery. I think that's going to fall flat because, like I said, it didn't really mean anything to me. But like I said, I give it a 5 out of 10. That's not to say, like I said, it didn't have redeeming qualities. Once again, I do think it is something entertaining. I give it entertaining, something that you would want to pick up, you know, maybe on Redbox if it's a slow movie night, or if something that if it comes along Netflix or Amazon Prime, or, you know, you've got HBO and then it comes on and you know, you got some time to kill. Like I said, it was entertaining. There's definitely entertaining parts of it. And, you know, it will keep you entertained. But, you know, at the end, I think it will leave you with that kind of, okay. So like I said, so I give it a 5 out of 10. Which means that does not mean it's a terrible movie. It just means that it's average. And from my perspective, it's not something that I would recommend going out to pay to see. You know, unless, like I say, you're paying maybe $2, $3 on Redbox and watching from the comfort of your home, something of that nature. It's not something that I would make an event of going to the theater and, you know, all of that, going out to see it. This has actually been one of my longer reviews. I didn't mean it to be, but turns out I just had a lot to say about the film. Once again, if you guys like what you see, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. Let me know what you think. Like I said, I definitely appreciate the support. I appreciate discussions. I like talking about film, you know, if you haven't figured out by how long this video is. But once again, I hope you guys are having a great weekend. Thank you. Next movie will most likely be It 2. I am excited. It is coming out very soon. I really enjoyed the first one. I'm very, very ready to see Chapter 2. Thanks once again for watching, guys. Take care.